Welcome back, everybody. It's another day in the shop. We got this 2.4 head gasket we're working on today. It's been a while since I've had it in here. If you've seen the previous video, we tore it down, had to order some parts. Parts took an extremely long time to get. It took me a week to actually get the vehicle tore down after they brought it in. I've just been so busy. And then ordered parts. It took about another 3 weeks to get parts for this thing. So the head finally showed up yesterday. It's Saturday morning. Typically I don't work on Saturdays, but I need to catch up on a few things. So you gotta do what you gotta do. So here we are, Saturday morning. We're gonna put this thing back together. Temperatures overnight were very cold. So yesterday before I left work, I brought this in just to make sure that we have a warm engine. We're not going to have any issues putting this back together. So just kind of a little tip there. You don't want to put an engine back together after it's been sitting out in the cold. You bring it inside and then you have water droplets or dew or something, especially on a head gasket. That's a bad situation. So right now, I pretty much got everything cleaned up. I did order a water pump here. I haven't replaced that yet. So as you can see, just kind of a maintenance deal. You know, we're here. We can get at this one pretty easy. Actually from the top side, this whole housing and everything is going to get replaced. But yeah, first step, let's take care of that. And then we'll unbox the cylinder head, kind of run through what that is all about, and we'll get this show on the road. All right, let's get this water pump pulled off here. There she is. Let's put it on the bench and get that new one set up and ready to go in here. All right. Let's unbox this new water pump. There's the gasket. There's the water pump. Actually comes with a pulley and everything. Wow. There we go. Lock washer stuck in the socket. Not a real fan of these bolts. I'd rather use the original ones that held on that original pulley. These are just nice captive washers instead of these, which I'm not going to use these. I'm going to use the original ones. I will use this pulley though, because it's nice and new. I'm going to check these bolts because I'm not really sure if they got them tight at the factory. Oh yeah, they got them tight. You never know. I've seen stuff sent out that it's supposed to be pre-assembled. All the bolts are loose on it. Does not hurt to check. As a matter of fact, I would highly recommend checking anything that you have that's pre-assembled. Check and make sure that the bolts are torqued. Everything goes from 12 to 13. Make up your mind, people. Oh, okay. So the O-ring did come with the head gasket kit. Nice new O-ring on there. Make sure you lube that up with some kind of, usually like Vaseline or something like that, works really well. Let's get that out of the way. Let's get our gasket out of here. These are metal gaskets. This one's got kind of like a updated, it's almost like a fiber coating on there. So what I like to do with these is I'm just going to take a little anaerobic sealer. I'm just going to put a, whoops, when I say light coat, what this is going to do is going to help seal any imperfections in the metal. Doesn't take much. Probably would be fine without using it. It's kind of a habit for me to put sealer on there. Pipe goes like that. Let's tighten these bolts up. Nuts, sorry. The nuts. I'm sure there's a torque spec on here. It's probably 18 foot-pounds, I'm guessing. That feels like 18 to me. Click, click. You heard it here, folks. Alright, like I said, that comes with a little bit of a coating on there. Still going to use this. Again, the only place that it seals is around here, so obviously you don't need to put it all over this part. Just kind of around the base, obviously, where the water jackets of this housing are. Try to keep it out of the center. That's always good. Get our gasket on there. A little bit more on the top. All right. Pulley stays off until I get ready to put the front cover and stuff on, so that does not go on right now. We will save that for later. Let's get this bolted on the back of the block there, and we'll start on that cylinder head. Alright. There is dowels here. You just gotta make sure that they fit into their spots. Get the center one at least snug, just to make sure that we have the dowels seated in there. Feels like it. $18 foot-pounds. So this cylinder head actually came from, this was from Clearwater cylinder heads. As you can tell, this surface is very almost mirror-like, and that's what it takes for those multi-layer gaskets. You got to have a really perfect surface for those to seal just right. So what we're going to do now is one thing I want to do is get the phasers changed over. We're going to get all our cam sensors, anything off the other head that needs to come on here. I'm going to torque those while the cams are still in this head, and then of course we got to pull the cams back out to get the bolts in, get them torqued. We got this block cleaned up pretty good here. It's a nice surface. We still need to spray it down with some brake cleaner and get all these, you know, little remnants off here. Your kit should have a filter in this location here. So let's pull that out. It's just a little screen, little filter. That one didn't look too bad, but hey, when you have one in the kit, use it. So put that back in there, and it's flush like that. So make sure you blow each hole out, each hole that the bolt goes down into. I usually just brake clean, get it nice and cleaned up. This block actually looks good. Didn't take too much to clean it up here. Nice and smooth. Checked it for straightness. Nice and straight. Should be good to put a gasket on here pretty quick once we get her sprayed down with some brake clean and just do one last wipe on it. Now you may notice that number 1 and number 4 are not at top dead center. So when I usually do this, one thing, when I prep the surface here, I don't want to be getting into the pistons and you know, scuffing the tops of them. It probably wouldn't hurt anything. I just, you know, I'm used to just turning the crank just a little bit, get the pistons down, just so when you bolt the head on, you know, you are rotating the cams just a little bit. you know, you get them pretty close, but you know, they can turn on you and stuff, and just to prevent anything from cams snapping back and you know, touching a valve on top of the piston or something like that. It's just something I've done on every one I do, no matter if it's a 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder, you name it. It's, yeah, just a habit, I guess. But yeah, I use just a microfiber towel, something that's kind of lint free, because as you can tell here, I kind of had my shop towels are kind of a paper product, and it snags on the edges here, and you kind of get a little bit of lint or paper on there, whatever. But yeah, once you get everything blowing out here, let's do a final wipe down. We're going to wipe down the head, get the gasket put on here, and then get some bolts installed, and we should be on our way to getting this wrapped up. You can see there is remnants of oil or whatever on there. Again, you want to make sure you get it as clean as you can. And again, these microfiber towels work awesome as far as not leaving any sorts of lint or fibers in there that can cause issues. I think she's looking pretty good. Let's do one final wipe on a clean side here. Okay, so we got the cylinder head all cleaned up. That's ready to be put on here. Again, the block's all clean. So in the service information, they want you to add a little pea-sized drop of sealant right at these two corners before you put the gasket on and after you put the gasket on. So we'll just add just a little drop right there. They say pea size. Depends on how big your pea is, I guess. Oops. Let's go get the gasket. We'll put that on. So again, these gaskets, like I said, are multi-layer gaskets. If you read the information that comes with it, it says do not put any sealant on it, any sealer, any kind of anything on it. Just install it dry is what it says. Install it with the part number up. Obviously, it only goes on one way. If you put it on backwards, you really gotta try hard to do that. Who knows how? It's kind of like a spring. Okay, so again, we gotta add a little bit of sealant on just the very corner here. That's the only sealant they want on this. And that's just where the timing cover sits on there. All right, so at this point, we're gonna get that cylinder head, drop it on there, get some bolts in it. Again, she is a heavy one. Trying to drop her straight down. Should be lined up there. She just doesn't want to go. All right, let's pull it back off, recheck it. So let's look at that cylinder head here. We're looking at the cylinder head, and I'll kind of show you. I don't know how that looks on camera, but that dowel hole doesn't seem perfectly round. So I think that's why we're having issues here. I wonder if I can just take a deburring tool and just kind of relief just that chamfer that corner there. I think that's what we're gonna do. So yeah, I didn't notice that when I had it over here. I mean, it looks like it should go on there, but I don't really want to beat it with a hammer either. So I'm gonna get a deburring tool and just kind of relieve that outside edge there, and it should go on. That looks more round, I guess. Baby steps. Shouldn't have to do this on a new cylinder head. I hope this works. Hey, felt like she went down. Yep. We're good. Thank God. Okay, so let's get our bolts out here. These are Velcro bolts. Come with a nice little torque sequence. Torque to yield. Obviously replace them. So again, we have our 2 bolts that are separate to go in the front of the engine. So those bolts are different. They do give you the washers for those front bolts. Those are right there. So first things first, threads on these bolts, we need to oil those down. Get a little bit of oil on there. I like to blow them off with compressed air afterwards because you don't want a whole lot of oil on there. You just want to film. And then the washers and the heads of the bolts, I just usually use the assembly lube just to help prevent any galling. So we're just going to use just some cheapy, I don't know, 1030 I guess is what this is. Ooh, got that one real good. I like to just take these and just blow off the excess. You can still see there's quite a film on there, but you don't want them dripping. All right, so like I said, we're going to put a little assembly lube on the tops of the washers, bottom of the washers. Anything we can do to prevent galling. That is your worst enemy when torquing head bolts. And then we're going to run these down and run them down, pull them back out, just to kind of make sure that we don't have any thread issues. And just take my little driver here. Probably speed this up a little. Actually, we're going to leave that one tight, just snug. All we're doing is making sure that we don't have any threads that are bound up or anything like that. And this is hardly any, there's no torque on this whatsoever. Alright, so we got everyone wound down at least once. So I'm just going to snug them up, just run them down, and then we can start torquing them. If you do this and something doesn't feel right, putting on the cylinder head or running these bolts down, stop what you're doing and pull it off. Kind of like what we experienced with this dowel. If it didn't feel right, something didn't feel right, we got to start taking it apart and, you know, see what's going on there. If we didn't and we just decided to torque it down, it may just kind of find its own home. I don't know. Could it have cracked the head? Probably, maybe. So yeah, just play it safe. If something doesn't feel right, stop and just kind of reassess, see what's going on. I can't get at this bolt with this setup here, so we're gonna try something else there. I got a different socket that I can reach that with. So there's 25. And then just follow your sequence. This is number 1. Let's see. Number 2. Three. 4. 5. Number 6. Number 7. There's 8. 9. And 10. So again, everything felt pretty good as far as torquing those down. It felt nice and even. Second step here is going to be 54. We're going to do that twice actually. The second and third step are both 54 foot-pounds. So back to number 1. There's 54. You definitely tell it just seems like a lot of torque for that bolt. But again, they're stretch bolts, so they're always kind of nerve-wracking trying to get that much torque on them. Again, you are basically pulling the bolt or stretching the bolt. Number 4. 5. Number 6. 7. Number 8. These torque wrenches are very nice. The only problem is if you're doing something like serious work like this, definitely put a fresh set of batteries in it. Ask me how I know. This thing will shut off. You know, especially when you're doing torque to yield. Yeah, that's not good when the batteries go dead. All right, so step 2 is complete. And then we basically repeat the process with the same torque. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and last one, 10. All right, so I'm going to grab a different torque wrench and we're going to turn these additional 90 degrees. So let's get the big dog out. All right, so we got our torque wrench turned on. As you can see, it's trying to find, it measures in degrees. So it's got to calibrate when you first turn it on. Looks like we have a full battery. I just changed batteries the other day on this, so we should be good to go. So we want an additional 90 degrees, so we just select our 90. And this will be our last step. So we start on number 1 here. And we'll pull this until it comes up with 90. There's 90. You can use just a regular ratchet and just measure your 92, but what fun is that when you can just look at a gauge? So there's 90 there. That's number 3. Thing that's nice about this, it actually keeps track when you ratchet back. It'll take that into consideration too. So it doesn't have to be a continuous 90 degrees like this. It'll actually, you can stop halfway, come back, and it'll know where you stopped and started. There's 4. Here's number 5. Number 6. Number 7. Number 8. Number 9. Get in the hole. There we go. And last one. All right, yes, everything felt good. So this head is now torqued. Next step is, let's get our cams put in. Then we can put the chains on. Start putting the front of this motor together. Don't forget our little bearing that needs to be put back in place back here. again, this is only here because that bolt it has to come out of there. So they kind of, I don't know, it's kind of weird. Just put a bearing in there, I guess. It works. Let's get our cam. This is the exhaust cam. I'm going to add a little bit of assembly lube. Just to make sure everything's good to go. So these cams actually came with the new cylinder head, as you probably already noticed. So everything should be good to go. The cams match to the caps. There shouldn't be any issues with clearance or anything like that. Here's our intake. That sucker dropped in there. A little bit more lube. They did a pretty good job of lubing this up when they assembled it anyway. But a little extra does not hurt. These caps are all numbered anyway. I just like to keep them all, I don't know, just, I pull them out and put them on the bench so they go back in the same way, but they are numbered, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they have the arrows that point to the inside. So pretty hard to screw that up, but some of them, I don't know if all of them are numbered or not. I don't think they are. On some vehicles, that's just kind of a habit that I have. Just kind of take stuff apart, lay it on the bench the way it goes, and then you don't have any issues going back together. But I will get these torqued down and we will set up our timing and go from there. But I'll bring you guys back for that. So we got the cams all bolted down, everything. Cams move freely, which is always a good thing. Again, as I stated before, the crank is still turned a little bit, so just to prevent any damage when I'm turning it here a little bit. Again, we have to get our marks lined up for the front here. This chain cannot go on until the oil pump chain goes on first. So it needs to move back just a little bit. Looks pretty good there. We'll revisit that a little bit once we put that chain on. So now let's raise it up and we'll put that oil pump chain on, and then we should be able to get the other chains on. Again, this crankshaft is off just a little bit. Let's turn it back. Everything on top will be fine. It won't hit. So again, that should be about between the cap and the block there. So that's kind of your reference mark there. Here's our sprocket for the crankshaft here. Put that on. And these are chains that we had marked in the last video here. I will say getting this bolt off here was a pain in the ass. Alright, let's grab our chain and get that wrapped on here. Looks like we're off one tooth on the back there. See where our alignment marks are. I think maybe this one needs to come ahead a little. Like right in that region there, possibly. I'm trying to look and see if our marks are lined up here. That one looks good. Let me get this back guide put in there just so it kind of holds the chain a little bit. It's my plan anyway. Actually, that might... Oh, it came off the bottom. The struggle is real. I remember pulling this apart. This guide was kind of a bitch to get at or get out. Once you get it in there, perfect. So we're back underneath now. This guide I just installed. This one you kind of have to put in. Let's see, it wants to slip around there. Let's get this one put in. At least the bolt's put in it here. Once you get the tensioners in, there's enough residual force just to push on the guide and kind of hold everything in place. And then you know, pull the pins and then the tensioners, take it from there. All right, let's get those snugged up for now. Put this tensioner in, and you can see that it's going to hold everything in place for that chain. One more guide on the bottom here. The tensioner sits on this side. Oops, we got it all kitty wampus in there. So you could tell that this guide doesn't seem tight, but these are shouldered bolts, so it doesn't really pinch on the plastic. It just kind of free floats in there. Same way with this one. this one's probably, yeah, that one's tight. I didn't take that one off. But yeah, same way with these ones. They're just kind of free floating in there. The tensioners are the only thing that, you know, gets real tight. Let's get this tensioner put in here. So one thing with this tensioner, the balance shaft or oil pump tensioner, is if you let this extend, there's actually a little plunger back here that is separate from the spring and then the tip up here, or the cylinder. So if this pops apart and that little piston gets turned around in there, you won't be able to push this back. And if you try to, you'll probably end up damaging it. So it's just like a little plunger that sits back in here. Once you pull all this out, you can just check it and verify. Just maybe, I would suggest pulling it apart and then reassembling it. Make sure that nothing came apart or anything like that. Because the only way to figure out if it's going to go back together right is either pull it apart to begin with, or when you're pushing on the piston in the vise to get it all compressed, and then it won't push all the way back because you're actually smashing that piston in there, which could cause damage. So that's why I'm saying maybe take it apart, reassemble it. That way you know it's going back together the right way. You can push this piston all the way in, get your pin in, just to prevent any damage. Get those snug. I'm gonna look up the torque spec. I know these are 105 on these. The tensioners, I'm not really sure. I think those are maybe 105 inch-pounds also. But I'll verify, and then we'll double check timing and then pull the pins. So everything on the front, torque to 105. That's inch-pounds, by the way. Double check everything just to make sure. That one I can't get. I got an impact socket. Let me get a chrome socket to fit in there. She just had too much sidewall. There we go. Much better. All right, that does it. Again, these are all floating. You want to make sure that that is in the spot where it should be, especially when you pull the pin. All right, we're gonna verify everything on top. Everything looked good on the top side. Bam! It's like a grenade. Pull the pin. Bam! Just checking to make sure everything's aligned. Make sure your chain is sitting inside the ridges on the, there's, you know, ridges on the guide. Make sure it's in place. All right, should be good to go. Next step, I gotta clean that cover up, and then we'll put the front timing cover on. Unfortunately, I overlooked a thermostat, so I'm not gonna be able to finish this one today. And the kit didn't come with a thermostat gasket anyway, so this one's gonna have to wait till Monday to finish up. But as you can see, pretty much got everything put back together here. All right, good morning, everybody. It is another day here at the shop. Saturday I was working on this cylinder head. Forgot one little detail, forgot the thermostat. So it was late enough in the day where I couldn't get a thermostat for it. And I just wanted to go home on a Saturday anyway. So it's Monday morning. Let's get that thermostat put in here. This vehicle actually has two thermostats. So here in this water outlet or housing, you have the engine thermostat, which sits in this part of the housing here, which that one's already been replaced. This is the one I forgot to get, which is just a kind of like a water bypass. It's they call it if you look it up by thermostat application, it's the cylinder head thermostat. This one is the engine thermostat, or primary. Engine or primary. This is a secondary water bypass cylinder head thermostat. Multiple names. So what we're going to do is get that thermostat put in, get this bolted up, hoses hooked up, and then we're ready for fluids. I got my coils disconnected. Just going to turn this over, get some oil circulating, and just to make sure we have a good start. So let's get this all wrapped up here and get the fluids in it, and then we'll start her up and obviously clean a lot of this up here because we got coolant spilled everywhere. So we'll just give it a good bath and get her all nice and cleaned up. Once we get her all wrapped up, we will be taking it to the car wash probably, because like I said, it's been sitting here for 3 weeks. That's probably the least I can do for the customer. It is dusty, dirty, and for the money they spent on this job, we'll take it through the car wash. So let's get started. Let's hook up these coils here. Last one. Let's crank it over. Doesn't sound too bad. We probably had a little assembly lube in the cylinder head, and that's why it kind of misfired to start with, but it's sounding real good, nice and quiet. This does it for another one, guys. Appreciate you guys for watching. Again, if it's something that you felt was useful, please consider hitting that like button and subscribe. And we'll see you on the next one.